Restaurant Unstoppable. What the most successful restaurateurs know that you don't. Can you, I know it's been probably at this point like 12 or 13 years, right?
Yeah.
Going back, but can you reflect back at some of the great leadership? And can you give me an example, a specific story of when you saw great leadership and what great leadership looks like?
Well,
I really I push here, man.
yeah, no worries. That's great. I love it. So Marco Canoro was the chef de cuisine at Kraft when I was working there in pastry, and then started Hearth and went over there. And I think, I just saw, he just had a very, all chefs can get riled up occasionally. This guy is just a very, very even temperament. And so, I saw a lot of even in very, very high stress situations, any normal dinner service and those very busy restaurants at the time, I just witnessed a guy who was leading the kitchen and able to keep his cool.
Why is that important?
Well, because the alternative is losing your cool and then, in speaking to people and, yelling at people or doing the sort of like traditionally what people think chefs do in kitchens, the sort of like, whatever, Gordon Ramsay style, like yelling at people, which is just like, that's not good for culture.
Yeah. Fear and control, right? Like,
totally.
Yeah. So why is that bad for culture? I know it seems obvious, but I really try to spell things
pride. Please. I think, just being on the receiving end of that is not going to make you feel good and not going to make you feel like you're, a valued part of the team, or taken seriously.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, you want to make people feel like they're collaborating with you and that they are cared for and taken care of, and by, you need to speak to people with respect in order to make them feel that way.
If you think you're going to get results out of somebody by screaming in their face and you're going to make them better in that moment, you have a different thing.
Short term, in the moment, short term maybe, but certainly not in the long term.
I would argue not even in short term maybe, because they're going to be so up in their head about how much they want to strangle you or kill you or walk in or throw their apron in your face that they're probably just going to mess up again.
Totally.
Because they're not going to be able to focus. Their emotions are going to take over. It's just so thank you for getting into those details. I think you really spelled it out well. What about values? You said there were some great values. What were some of the big values that you picked up through working at some of these great restaurants?
Well, that's a little bit of a tough one for me because I was not, I was there in a very part-time capacity. And so I was just not, super, super involved in the culture of the restaurant. I was sort of dipping in and out at night and sort of observing from afar. But, we started off by talking about collaboration. I think, all of these restaurants did a really good job of extracting, creativity and value from the whole kitchen team.
What was the approach? How would these chefs, these restaurateurs, engage their team in a way to encourage them to contribute? Was there a structure put around this, or
giving them? I think giving them creative autonomy to kind of come up with, make decisions on altering dishes or coming up with new dishes and taking those kind of risks.
Yeah, and I think that's really key too. It's just the power of we talked about earlier, like collaboration. Like you are only so good by yourself, but when you open up the channels to your mind, to other minds, you're literally compounding the potential energy you have.
Yes.
And we cut ourselves short when we try to control the menu or try to control even the creating systems and processes or even developing the culture.
Sure.
When you break down those barriers and you open that up to that potential energy, it's like the sky's the limit.
Agreed.
It's a very powerful approach. What about what not to do?